The rain hammered the pavement like it had a grudge, turning the alley behind my Brooklyn brownstone into a river of regret. I stumbled over a crumpled figure huddled against the dumpster, his eyes wild, lost, the color of storm-tossed ocean, locking onto mine as if I just pulled him from drowning. "Please," he whispered, voice cracking like thunder. "Don't let me disappear again." I should have walked away. New York chews up good intentions and spits out mugshots. But those eyes, they weren't just asking for shelter. They were begging for a resurrection. That night in late October, the city felt like it was unraveling at the seams, the kind of autumn storm that soaks through your coat and straight into your bones. I just wrapped a 12-hour shift at the graphic design firm in Midtown, the one where I crunched pixels for faceless corporations while dreaming of my own exhibit someday. Alex Rivera, 28, gay as a pride float, and single enough to make my therapist raise an eyebrow. My apartment was a third-floor walk-up on Atlantic Avenue, all exposed brick and IKEA regrets, the sort of place that echoed with the ghosts of hookups past. But tonight, it was empty, mocking me with its silence. I spotted him around 11 p.m., or what was left of him. He was curled fetal style under a threadbare blanket that might have been a tablecloth once, shivering against the graffiti-scarred wall. The rain had plastered his dark curls to his forehead, and a nasty gash above his left eyebrow wept blood mixed with water. No wallet, no ID, just a faded backpack, spilling socks, and a dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby. The spine cracked like his spirit. "Hey, man," I said, crouching down, my voice barely cutting through the downpour. "You okay? Need a hand?" His head snapped up, and those eyes, God, those eyes, hit me like a freight train. Blue-green, flecked with gold, but fractured, like stained glass after a brawl. He didn't speak at first, just stared, lips moving soundlessly as if testing words he couldn't quite grasp. "Home," he finally rasped, the word foreign on his tongue. I don't know. Amnesia. The word floated up from some half-remembered psych elective. Concussion, exposure, the works. I glanced around. No one else braving the alley, no sirens wailing yet. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A grinder notification I ignored. What the hell was I doing? Call 911, let the system sort it. But the system in this city? It was a meat grinder for guys like him, pretty, broken, probably queer from the way he clutched that book like a lifeline. "Look," I said, shrugging off my trench coat and draping it over him. "My place is 2 blocks. Come on, at least get dry before you turn into a puddle." He hesitated, then nodded, grabbing my offered hand. His grip was weak but desperate, fingers cold as marble. We shuffled through the storm, me half carrying him, dodging puddles that reflected the sodium glow of street lamps. By the time we hit my stoop, he was swaying, breath coming in shallow gasps. Inside, the radiator clanged to life like an old friend, and I flicked on the string lights I'd hung last Christmas. Solo with a bottle of Merlot. "Bathroom's there," I pointed. "Towels in the cabinet. I'll throw something in the microwave." He lingered in the doorway, dripping on my thrift store rug, eyes darting like a cornered animal. "Who are you?" "Alex. You." A pause, endless as the rain outside. "I don't." "Jamie?" "Yeah, Jamie. I think. Jamie it was." I nuked leftover lasagna, my mom's recipe, heavy on the cheese, and watched him devour it at my kitchen table, hunched over like it might vanish. He showered after, emerging in my 2 big sweats and a faded Ramones tee, the gash cleaned with antibiotic from my first aid kit. We sat on the couch, herbal tea steaming between us, and that's when the questions started. "Where am I from?" he asked, voice small. "Brooklyn, now. Originally, hell if I know." He laughed, a brittle sound that twisted something in my chest. "I remember. Fragments. A bridge. Screaming tires. Then nothing. Like someone hit delete." We talked, or I did mostly, about the city, my job, the ex who bailed when I came out to my family and they chose silence over me. Jamie listened, head tilted, those eyes absorbing me like I was the first real thing in days. By midnight, the storm had eased to a drizzle, and exhaustion claimed him. I pointed to the spare room, technically my office, piled with sketch pads, and he paused at the door. Alex. His voice was a whisper, raw. Don't leave, please. I froze, heart stuttering. It wasn't sexual, not like that, just pure aching vulnerability. I'm right here, down the hall. Yell if you need anything. He nodded, but as I turned off the lights, I heard it. A soft sob from his room, muffled by pillow. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped my own fractures, wondering what I just invited into my life. Morning brought weak sunlight filtering through the blinds, and the smell of burnt toast. Jamie was in the kitchen, fumbling with my ancient toaster, looking almost boyish in the daylight. Lean build, maybe 6 feet, with a smattering of freckles across his nose that the street hadn't erased. Sorry, he said, sheepish. Thought I'd make breakfast. We ate on the fire escape, legs dangling over the alley, watching neighbors hustle to the subway. He didn't remember much. Flashes of a Midwestern accent, a job involving numbers, a fight that ended with him on that bridge. I think I was running, he admitted, staring at his mug. From something. Or someone. I nodded, not pushing. Instead, I cleared the day, called in sick first time in months, and we walked to the ER for stitches. The doc confirmed mild amnesia, likely trauma-induced, and handed him a psych referral. Rest, avoid stress. Memories might trickle back. Back home, I dug out my old cannon and snapped a few shots. Jamie on the stoop, smiling tentatively at a stray cat. For when you remember, I lied. Truth was, capturing him felt like holding on to light. That night, as thunder rumbled again, he knocked on my door around 2 a.m. Can't sleep. Nightmares. The dark. It swallows me. I scooted over on the bed, no funny business, just space, and he curled up at the edge, back to me. Thanks, he murmured, for not leaving. His words hung there, heavy with unspoken pleas. I didn't sleep much either, hyper-aware of his breathing evening out, the faint scent of my shampoo on his hair. By dawn, something had shifted. Not love, not yet, but a tether, fragile as spider silk, tying us across the void. Days blurred into a routine that felt dangerously normal. I worked remotely when I could, sketching logos while Jamie pored over library books on memory loss, his brow furrowed in that endearing way. We cooked together, pasta carbonara that ended in flower fights, and binge-watched the office marathons, him quoting lines like he'd lived them. Laughter came easier, his eyes lighting up when I shared stories of my abuela's bodega in the Bronx, the one where she'd sneak me empanadas and whisper, "Se valiente mijo." But under it all, the fear simmered. What if he remembered and bolted? What if this was just pity, a detour before he reclaimed his real life? And me, why did his vulnerability stir something deeper than compassion? Late one evening, as we washed dishes side by side, our hands brushed under the suds. Electricity, not static. He froze, then met my gaze, a question in those fractured eyes. Alex, he said softly, you're the only thing that feels solid. I dried my hands, heart pounding. You're pretty solid yourself, Jamie. We didn't kiss, not then. But the air thickened, charged with possibility. That night, his plea came softer, whispered into the dark. Don't leave me. I whispered back, I won't. Little did I know, the past has a way of crashing parties uninvited. November swept in with a chill that bit deeper than the rain, frosting the windows of my apartment like a warning. Jamie had settled in, his presence a quiet revolution. My fridge stocked with his weird kale smoothies, my couch indented from lazy afternoons sketching him while he napped. We'd hit the thrift stores on Smith Street, scoring him jeans that actually fit and a wool peacoat that made him look like he'd stepped out of a Wes Anderson flick. Feels like borrowing someone else's life, he'd say, twirling in the mirror, but his smile said otherwise. The psych sessions helped. Dr. Lena, a no-nonsense dyke with a corner office in Park Slope, prescribed journaling and mindfulness apps. Trauma's a thief, she told him, but you're the one who picks the lock. Jamie nodded, diligent, filling notebooks with fragments. A lake house in Wisconsin, the sting of a father's disapproval, a lover's laugh echoing in fog. Lover. The word landed like a stone in my gut during our post-session coffee debriefs at Gorilla Coffee. You think he was like us? I asked once, stirring too much sugar, casual as I could manage. Jamie shrugged, tracing the foam heart on his latte. Dunno, but the way I feel around you? Safe. Seen. His foot nudged mine under the table, accidental on purpose. Heat bloomed in my cheeks, and I changed the subject to the upcoming Thanksgiving parade. Balloons bobbing like dreams over Herald Square. We were falling, slow and inevitable, into something real. Walks along the promenade at dusk, hands brushing as we leaned on the railing, Manhattan's skyline a glittering promise. One evening, under a canopy of bare oaks in Prospect Park, he stopped, breath fogging the air. Alex, I think I remember a kiss. Not who, but how it felt. Like coming home. My pulse thrummed. Yeah. He stepped closer, the world narrowing to the space between us. Our lips met, tentative, then fervent. A spark igniting dry tinder. It was rain-kissed and raw, tasting of hot cider and hope. When we broke apart, foreheads touching, he laughed through tears. Don't let go. Never. I promised and meant it. But promises are paper in a gale. The first crack appeared mid-November. A letter in my mailbox. No stamp, just my name scrawled in sharp ink. Inside, a photo, creased and faded, of Jamie, pre-street, clean-shaven, arm around a broad-shouldered guy with a military buzz and eyes like chipped ice. On the back, tell him Ethan knows. He's coming back. I crumpled it, heart hammering, and shoved it in a drawer. Ethan? Who the hell was Ethan? Jamie's journal mentioned no one by name, just shadows of regret. I didn't tell him why poison the fragile bloom, but doubt crept in, a whisper during quiet moments. What if you're the rebound, the placeholder? He noticed my distance that week, the way I'd linger at work, claiming deadlines. Talk to me, he pressed one night, as we huddled under blankets on the couch. Brokeback Mountain flickering on the screen. Ironic, heartbreaking. Just tired? I lied, pulling him closer. His body molded to mine, warm and trusting, and guilt twisted sharper than any knife. Then the dreams started for him, vivid, violent. He'd wake gasping, clutching sheets, murmuring apologies to ghosts. I hurt someone, he'd confess over breakfast, eyes hollow. Pushed them away. Ran. That's why the bridge. I held him, murmuring nonsense about second chances. But inside, the photo burned. Ethan, who was he? Abuser? The answer came unbidden a week later, during a rare solo errand to the laundromat. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered on impulse. Rivera. A voice like gravel, East Coast edge. Who's this? Ethan Hale. You got my boy. My blood iced. Jamie? He's not. Property, yeah. He took off after some lover's quarrel. Amnesia my ass. Probably faking to spite me. Where is he? Fury surged, hot and righteous. He's safe, with people who give a damn. Lose my number. I hung up, hands shaking, and blocked it. But the seed was planted. Betrayal, not just from Jamie's past, but from this intruder sniffing at our door. That night, as we lay tangled, his plea came fiercer. Promise you won't leave, Alex, no matter what. I promise, I said, throat tight, but promises fray. The holidays loomed like a loaded gun. We decorated, stringing lights on the fire escape, baking snickerdoodles that filled the air with cinnamon warmth. Jamie's laughter rang freer, his sketches, rough but talented, adorning my fridge. Us as superheroes, capes billowing over the East River. Love, I realized, staring at him one dawn, asleep with sunlight gilding his lashes. Not the flashbang of apps, but the steady burn of chosen family. Yet Ethan haunted the edges. Another letter arrived, slipped under the door. He's mine. Back off or I go public. Public? What did that mean? I Googled him late one night. Ethan Hale, 32, ex-Marine turned security consultant. A trail of bar fights and a sealed assault charge from 22. And photos. Jamie and him at a Wisconsin wedding, beaming, rings glinting. Married? No, partners, from the captions on old socials. Jamie had a life, a love before the void. Confrontation brewed. I waited for the right moment, but life accelerated. A promotion at work, pulling me into late nights. Jamie's first memory surge. A full name, James Callahan, accountant from Milwaukee, fleeing after coming out to conservative folks. They disowned me, he told Dr. Lena, voice steady. Ethan, he was my anchor, but anchors can drag you under. My turn to shatter came Black Friday, the city a frenzy of consumerism. I came home early, arms laden with takeout from that hole-in-the-wall Thai spot on Court Street. The apartment was dim, candles flickering romantic. He'd planned a surprise. But the door to the spare room hung ajar, and there, on the desk, lay the letters smoothed flat. Jamie sat cross-legged on the floor, photo in hand, tears carving tracks down his face. You knew, he said, not accusatory, just broken. And you didn't tell me. Jamie. Ethan. That's his name. My Ethan. The words gutted me, each syllable a twist. He called. Threatened you. I was protecting. Us. He stood, eyes wild. Or just your little fantasy. God. Alex, I thought this was real. But I'm a ghost in your house. Aren't I? Half a man. Begging scraps. No. I reached for him, but he recoiled, the photo crumpling in his fist. You're everything. This, us. It's the first real thing I've had since. The doorbell buzzed, insistent as a heartbeat. We both froze. Through the peephole. Ethan, 6'2" of muscle and menace. Leather jacket straining. Eyes scanning like a predator. Open up, babe. Time to come home. Jamie's face drained of color. Alex, don't. But I did. For him. For us. Ethan loomed in the doorway like a storm cloud with fists. His buzzed head gleaming under the hall light, jaw set in that military clamp. Up close, he was everything the photos promised. Broad, unyielding, the kind of guy who bench-pressed his demons and called it cardio. Jamie, he growled, ignoring me entirely. Let's go. Milwaukee's waiting. Jamie shrank back, but fire flickered in his eyes. The same spark I'd seen when he laughed at my dumb puns. Ethan, how did you? Tracked your ass. That backpack? Had your old library card. Sent it to a buddy at the precinct. His gaze slid to me then, dismissive. Thanks for the bed and breakfast, pretty boy. Bills in the mail. Get out, I said, voice steady despite the adrenaline tsunami. This was my home, my sanctuary. No ex-Marine was bulldozing it. He chuckled, low and ugly. Or what? You gonna design me to death? He shouldered past, zeroing on Jamie, who backed into the living room, hands up like warding off a curse. Stop! Jamie's voice cracked, but held. It's over, Ethan. The fights, everything. Everything. Ethan's laugh died into a snarl. I gave up my post for you, followed you to that shithole city, and you run after one spat? Amnesia bullshit. You were always dramatic. I stepped between them, chest to chest with this wall of resentment. He said leave. You deaf. His breath reeked of cheap whiskey. Stay out of family business, queer. The word landed like a slap, but I didn't flinch. We're both queer, asshole. And he's not your property. Ethan's fist twitched, but Jamie's cry cut the air. Enough! He shoved past me, facing his past head-on. You hit me, Ethan. That night on the bridge. You swung first. I fell, hit my head, next thing, blank. But I remember now. The bruises. The apologies that turned to threats. Lies? Truth? Ethan's face twisted. Guilt? Rage? You pushed me to it. Yelling about your folks, how I wasn't enough. I fixed it. Fixed. Jamie's laugh was bitter, echoing off the brick walls. You isolated me. No friends, no job interviews. Just your protection. The room spun, accusations flying like shrapnel. Ethan lunged. Not at me, but Jamie, grabbing his arm in a vice. Instinct kicked in. I tackled him, all 5'10" of graphic designer fury against ex-marine bulk. We crashed into the coffee table, mugs shattering, Gatsby tumbling to the floor like a fallen idol. "Alex!" Jamie's scream fueled me. I landed a wild punch, glancing off Ethan's jaw before he pinned me, forearm like iron on my throat. "Last warning," he hissed. Sirens wailed distant, then near. Someone in the building must have called. Ethan cursed, releasing me with a shove that sent me sprawling. "This ain't over, Callahan." He stormed out, the door slamming like judgment. Jamie knelt beside me, hands trembling as he checked my neck, already bruising. "Oh God, Alex. I'm sorry." I coughed, pulling him down. "You okay?" He collapsed against me, sobs racking his frame. "I chose wrong before, but you fought for me." We held on as cops arrived, statements, photos of the mess, a no-contact order drafted on the spot. Ethan vanished into the night, but his shadow lingered, a bruise on our budding trust. Recovery was raw. Jamie's memories flooded back in waves. A closeted childhood in Green Bay, Ethan as the hot older recruit who promised escape. Their love started fierce. Road trips through the Badlands, stolen kisses in dive bars, but soured into control. He said it was love. Jamie confessed over takeout that week, his voice a thread. The jealousy, the "you're mine" tattoos, metaphorical, but they scarred anyway. I traced his knuckles, swollen from gripping the table during the fight. Love doesn't cage, it sets free. His eyes met mine, soft with wonder. Like this. We rebuilt, brick by emotional brick. Therapy doubled, couple sessions now. Dr. Lena guiding us through the minefield. "Betrayal's a teacher," she said. "What do you learn?" For me, vulnerability's not weakness. I opened up about my own ghosts, Dad's homophobic rants, the brother who ghosted after my wedding invite. Jamie listened, then shared sketches. Us on that bridge, not falling, but leaping together. Romance deepened, unhurried. Picnics in McCarran Park, where he'd read me poetry, Whitman, because he got the body electric right. Our kisses evolved. Lazy mornings tangled in sheets, hands exploring with reverence. Not rush. No grand declarations, just quiet truths. "I love you," whispered over coffee. Met with "I know" and a grin. But Ethan wasn't done. Christmas Eve, as snow blanketed the city in hush, my phone lit up. A text from a burner. "Merry Christmas. Check your door." There, a gift-wrapped box, ribbon blood red. Inside, Jamie's old engagement ring, simple gold band, and a note. "He'll crawl back. They always do. E." Jamie found me staring at it, pale as the drifts outside. "What is it?" I handed it over, the weight of it crushing. His face crumpled, not with longing, but revulsion. He kept this? After everything. We burned it that night in the sink, flames dancing like exorcism, the ring melting into slag. "No more ghosts," he said, pulling me close. "Just us." New Year's dawned crisp. The ball drop, a distant cheer from Times Square. We watched from my roof, borrowed access from the super with cheap champagne and dreams. "To remembering," he toasted. "And choosing," I added. Fireworks bloomed, painting his face in starlight. But as the echoes faded, a car idled below. Black SUV, tinted windows. Ethan's? Paranoia? Or prelude? January brought thaw and terror. Jamie landed a temp gig at a Soho accounting firm, entry-level, but his with a paycheck that bought us dinner at that Italian spot in Cobble Hill. Pride swelled as he recounted his first day. Tie askew, cheeks flushed. "Felt like me again. Thanks to you." That night, lovemaking, not sex but communion, sealed it. Slow, sacred, body speaking what words couldn't. "You're home." Climax crashed a week later, Valentine's shadow looming. I came home to silence. Door unlocked, Jamie's coat gone. Panic clawed, "Ethan." I tore through the streets, calling his phone to voicemail, heart a war drum. A text pinged. Central Park. Bethesda Terrace. "Come alone. J." I bolted, subway a blur, emerging into the Ramble's twilight maze. There, under the angel's shadow, Jamie waited, not alone. Ethan flanked him, arms slung possessive, Jamie's face a mask of defeat. You lose, Ethan sneered as I approached. He remembered everything. Chose family. Jamie's eyes pleaded, run. But Ethan's grip tightened, a knife glinting in his free hand. Kitchen blade? Pilfered? Back off, Rivera. Or he bleeds first. Betrayal's blade twisted deepest. Had Jamie played me? Lured me here for closure? The terrace loomed eternal. The angel statue weeping stone tears over the frozen lake, indifferent to the hell unfolding below. Ethan's knife caught the last light, a silver threat pressed to Jamie's side, just below the ribs. Jamie's eyes, those ocean eyes, locked on mine, screaming volumes. Trust me. But trust? It was ash after this setup. Let him go, I said, hands raised, voice steady as I could fake. Park joggers blurred past, oblivious. A distant busker's sax wailed like a dirge. Whatever beef you got, it's with me now. Ethan's laugh was a bark. Beef? This is cleanup. He thinks he can waltz back, play victim? Nah, we're fixing it. Starting with you. Jamie's lips moved, barely audible. Alex, run? Shut it. Ethan jabbed the blade, drawing a hiss from Jamie. A bead of blood bloomed on his shirt, dark as accusation. My stomach lurched. This is real. This ends tonight. Memories flashed. Our first walk, hands brushing. The way he'd hum show tunes in the shower, off-key and joyful. I couldn't lose that. Couldn't lose him. Ethan, listen. You're ex-military, right? Honor code. This ain't war. It's obsession. Obsession. He sneered, but his eyes, red-rimmed, haunted, betrayed cracks. I loved him, gave everything. He repays with street trash and lies. Jamie twisted, voice fierce. You call bruises love? The nights you locked the door, said it was, for my safety? I ran because I was dying, Ethan. With you. The knife wavered. A beat, agonizing, hung. Then chaos. A shout from the path. Hey, what's going on? A cop? NYPD beat patrol, burly and bored, strode up, hand on holster. Ethan cursed, shoving Jamie toward me. The blade clattered to the stone. We tumbled together, Jamie's arms crushing around me as Ethan bolted, vanishing into the underbrush like smoke. You okay? The officer cuffed empty air, radio crackling for backup. Jamie nodded against my shoulder, trembling. Yeah, thanks to him. We gave statements, harassment, assault with a deadly, the works. Ethan was apprehended 2 blocks over, resisting like the hothead he was. As they hauled him away, his eyes met Jamie's one last. Not rage, but ruin. I did it for us. No, Jamie whispered. You did it for you. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Safe house overnight, lawyers looping in, Dr. Lena on speed dial for crisis mode. We crashed at a friend's in Williamsburg. A queen-sized bed in a loft overlooking the bridge, ironic sanctuary. Curled together, Jamie's confession spilled like rain after drought. I didn't call him, he said, tracing my bruises. He cornered me at work, knew my schedule, tailed me, said he'd expose us, send pics to my family, ruin your job if I didn't meet. I texted you from his phone, hoped you'd read between. Between what? I murmured, exhaustion pulling. The plea in my eyes. Always that. He kissed my temple. I choose you, Alex. Every fractured piece. Relief crashed, then tears mine his mingled. Scared me, I admitted. Thought you'd go back. To safe. Familiar. Familiar's a cage. You're the key. Spring unfurled gentle. Cherry blossoms dusting the park like confetti for survivors. Charges stuck. Stalking, assault. Ethan remanded, his trial a summer specter. Jamie thrived. Full-time at the firm, night classes for his CPA. I pitched my portfolio to a gallery in Chelsea. They bit. A solo show slated for June, portraits, Jamie's face woven through, anonymous but unmistakable. We moved. Deeper into Brooklyn. A garden apartment with a stoop for morning coffee, space for his drafting table and my easel. No more ghosts, just us, building. One June evening, post-opening. Red wine flowing, critics buzzing. Jamie knelt amid paint-splattered drop cloths, a sketch in hand. Our hands intertwined, rings sketched faint. "Not gold," he said, voice thick. "But promise. Marry me? Or partner, or whatever, the word doesn't matter. You do." Tears blurred the lines. Yes, all of it. The city hummed approval outside, fireflies winking in the dusk. We weren't fixed. Therapy taught that scars linger, memories tease, but we were whole. Human, flawed, chosen. Years later, on rainy nights, he'd still whisper it, "Don't leave." Pull him close. Never did. Never will. And in the quiet, we'd remember. Love isn't found. It's forged in alleys and arguments under knives and stars. A testament, American as apple pie and protest marches. Fierce, tender, unbreakable.